Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and, for just a moment, wondered what the day is going to ask of you? Not in a worried way, but with a quiet curiosity. Maybe you've noticed that some mornings feel heavier than others, especially as the years go by. People often assume that excitement fades with age, that mornings become something you simply get through. That's why I want to share something very honest with you. I'm 82 years old, and I still feel a genuine sense of excitement when I wake up each morning. Not every single day is perfect, of course, but there's a steady feeling of interest in being here and seeing what the day might bring. And that feeling didn't come by accident. This matters because so many people over 60 quietly believe that enthusiasm is for the young, and that later years are meant to be endured rather than enjoyed. That belief can slowly drain the color out of life. Today, I want to talk with you about why excitement doesn't have to disappear with age, and how it can actually grow stronger when you look at life a little differently. We'll walk through a few simple shifts that made a real difference for me, not as theories, but as lived experiences. These aren't grand secrets or dramatic transformations. They're gentle changes in how you meet each day. Let's start with the morning itself, because that's where everything begins. For a long time, I used to wake up already thinking about what might go wrong. My body felt stiff, my mind jumped ahead to worries, and the day felt like something to manage. Over time, I realized that how I greeted the morning shaped everything that followed. Now, when I wake up, I give myself a moment before getting out of bed. I notice the light, the quiet, my breathing. I remind myself that waking up is not guaranteed. That simple awareness turns an ordinary morning into something meaningful. This doesn't require pretending everything is wonderful. Some mornings come with aches, concerns, or fatigue. But instead of fighting those feelings, I acknowledge them and still ask myself one gentle question: what is one small thing today that I can look forward to? It might be a cup of coffee, a short walk, a phone call, or simply sitting by the window. Having even one small point of anticipation gives the day a heartbeat. Another reason I still feel excited to wake up is that I've stopped measuring my days by productivity. When you spend decades being evaluated by what you accomplish, it's hard to let that go. But eventually, I learned that life doesn't lose value when you slow down. It changes its rhythm. These days, I focus less on what I produce and more on what I experience. A meaningful conversation now feels more important than checking off a task list. That shift alone lifted a quiet pressure I didn't even realize I was carrying. I also learned to stay curious. Curiosity doesn't belong only to children. In fact, it becomes even more powerful with age. When you're curious, the world keeps offering you reasons to stay engaged. I read things I never had time for before. I listened to people's stories more closely. I notice how the seasons change, how neighborhoods evolve, how my own thoughts shift over time. Curiosity turns aging into an exploration instead of a decline. Staying connected to something outside of yourself also plays a huge role. For me, that connection has changed over the years. At one point, it was work. Later, it was family responsibilities. Now, it might be as simple as being part of a small community, helping when I can, or just being present for someone else. When you know that your presence still matters, mornings feel purposeful. You're not waking up just to pass time. You're waking up because your life still touches others, even in quiet ways. I've also become very protective of my energy. At this age, you can't afford to waste it on things that drain you unnecessarily. I've learned to say no without guilt and yes with intention. If something consistently leaves me feeling heavy or resentful, I step back. That space creates room for things that bring lightness. When your days are shaped by choices that respect your energy, waking up feels kinder. There's another piece that surprised me. Gratitude changes with age. When you're younger, gratitude often comes after something good happens. Now, it comes before. I wake up already grateful for the chance to be here, to move, to think, to feel. That gratitude doesn't erase challenges, but it softens them. It makes the day feel like a gift rather than an obligation. Movement also plays a role, not intense exercise, but gentle motion. stretching, walking, moving just enough to remind your body that it's still alive. When the body feels engaged, the mind follows. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can still care for yourself in simple ways. All of these things together create a foundation. They don't eliminate difficult days, but they make excitement possible again. Not the loud, restless excitement of youth, but a steady, meaningful interest in life as it is now. And as this way of living settles in, it naturally opens the door to something deeper, a sense of meaning that continues to grow and quietly pulls you into each new morning. And feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. That growing sense of meaning doesn't arrive all at once. It builds slowly, shaped by how you treat your time and your attention. One of the biggest changes I made was learning to slow down enough to actually be where I am. For years, even after retirement, my mind stayed busy. I would rush through meals, conversations, even quiet moments, always thinking about what was next. What I didn't realize was how much joy I was skipping over. When you slow your pace, even just a little, ordinary moments start to feel fuller. A morning meal becomes something to enjoy, not just finish. A short walk becomes a chance to notice the world instead of simply moving through it. Slowing down also gave me the space to listen to myself more honestly. At this stage of life, your body and your emotions speak more clearly, but only if you're willing to hear them. Some days I wake up energized, other days I don't. Instead of forcing myself to meet an old standard, I adjust. If I'm tired, I rest without shame. If I feel alert, I use that energy for something meaningful. This flexibility removed a lot of inner conflict and made mornings feel more welcoming. Another reason I still look forward to waking up is that I've learned to make peace with uncertainty. When you're younger, uncertainty feels threatening because you're trying to build something solid. Later in life, uncertainty becomes part of the beauty. You no longer need every answer. You can allow the day to unfold without controlling it. There's a quiet excitement in not knowing exactly how a day will go and trusting that you can handle whatever comes. This mindset shift didn't happen overnight. It grew as I faced losses and changes that I couldn't prevent. Instead of closing my heart, I chose to stay open. That openness makes you more vulnerable, but it also keeps you alive to the world. When you accept that change is unavoidable, you stop fighting reality and start flowing with it. That flow makes each day feel lighter. Connection continues to play a central role. At this age, I don't need constant social activity, but I do need meaningful contact. A phone call, a shared laugh, or even a brief exchange with a neighbor can anchor the day. I've learned that isolation drains excitement, while even small connections replenish it. You don't have to be surrounded by people to feel connected. You just have to feel seen. I also make room for learning, not in a pressured way, but in a gentle, curious one. Learning something new keeps the mind awake. It could be a new recipe, a different way to stretch, a new piece of history, or even a new way of thinking about an old belief. Learning reminds you that life is still expanding, not closing in. Letting go of comparisons was another turning point. It's easy to look at others and feel like you should be doing more or feeling differently. But comparison steals joy at any age. When I stopped measuring my life against someone else's timeline, I felt freer. My mornings became about my life, not how it stacked up against another's. There's also a deeper honesty that comes with age, if you allow it. You stop pretending as much. You're less interested in impressing and more interested in being real. That honesty creates inner peace. When you're not wearing emotional masks, waking up feels simpler. You don't have to perform. You just have to show up as you are. Even challenges take on a different shape. Problems still exist, but they don't define the entire day. You learn that discomfort can coexist with gratitude. Pain can coexist with laughter. This emotional flexibility makes life richer, not harder. It's one of the quiet strengths that comes with age. As all of this settles in, excitement begins to feel more grounded. It's not about chasing happiness. It's about appreciating depth. It's about knowing that even an ordinary day holds something worth noticing. And that understanding naturally leads into something even more powerful, a sense of peace with yourself and your life that continues to grow as you keep choosing to meet each morning with openness and care. That sense of peace with yourself is something I didn't fully understand when I was younger. I thought peace came from having everything settled, everything resolved. But at this age, I've learned that peace comes from acceptance. Acceptance of who you are now, not who you used to be or who you think you should still be. When you stop arguing with reality, mornings feel gentler. You wake up without that inner resistance, and that alone can make the day feel lighter. One of the reasons I still feel excited to wake up is that I've stopped postponing joy. There was a time when I thought joy was something you earned after hard work, or something that would come later when circumstances were better. Now I understand that joy lives in small, immediate moments. A warm shower. A familiar song. The sound of birds outside. When you allow yourself to enjoy these things without guilt, life stops feeling like a waiting room. I've also learned to forgive myself. This may be one of the most important shifts of all. As you get older, memories can surface more often. Things you wish you'd done differently. Words you wish you'd said or not said. Holding on to regret can quietly drain your desire for the day ahead. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing. It means recognizing that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. When you make peace with your past, the present becomes much easier to step into each morning. Another change that keeps mornings meaningful is having something, even something very small, that feels like it's yours. It could be a routine, a creative outlet, a quiet habit that belongs only to you. For me, it's a few minutes of reflection each morning. For someone else, it might be tending plants, writing a few lines, or simply sitting with a cup of tea. These personal rituals create continuity. They give the day a familiar starting point, something steady to return to. Purpose also takes on a softer shape now. It's no longer about impact on a large scale. It's about presence. Being kind when you can. Listening when someone needs it. Offering what you have, even if it feels modest. Purpose doesn't have to be loud to be real. When you know that your way of being still matters, waking up feels worthwhile. I've noticed that laughter becomes more important too. Not forced laughter, but the kind that comes from seeing the humor in life's imperfections. At this age, you've seen enough to know that things rarely go exactly as planned. Being able to smile at that instead of fighting it brings a surprising amount of freedom. Laughter lightens the weight of the day and makes getting out of bed feel easier. There's also a deeper relationship with time. I no longer rush it or try to outrun it. I respect it. Time feels precious, not because it's scarce, but because it's meaningful. Each day feels like its own small chapter. When you approach time this way, mornings aren't something to dread. They're an invitation. Health plays its part too, in a very realistic way. I don't expect my body to feel young, but I do treat it with care. I rest when I need to. I move in ways that feel supportive. I speak to myself kindly when my energy is low. This respectful relationship with my body reduces frustration and helps me start the day without resentment. What ties all of this together is choice. Not control, but choice. Choosing how you speak to yourself. Choosing where you place your attention. Choosing to stay open instead of closing down. These choices don't eliminate hardship, but they change how you carry it. When you feel aligned with yourself, waking up feels less like an obligation and more like an opportunity. If you're watching this and thinking that excitement feels far away for you right now, I want you to know something important. You don't have to change everything. You don't have to suddenly feel joyful. Even a slight shift in how you meet the morning can begin to change your relationship with the day. One small moment of appreciation. One gentle act of self-kindness. These things add up over time. If any part of this resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments what helps you get through the day, or what you still hope to feel more of when you wake up. Your experiences matter, and they might encourage someone else who's feeling alone in theirs. If you found this conversation meaningful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We continue to share reflections like this, created especially for this stage of life, where depth, honesty, and quiet joy matter more than ever. Remember, being excited to wake up doesn't mean every day is easy. It means you've found a way to meet life with openness, curiosity, and kindness toward yourself. And at any age, that is something truly worth waking up for.